Hello weebs, Wiki here. 2022 was the year for anime fans. I don't remember ever seeing a year where so many shows reached the top 100 of MAL. We had the cutest anime daughter, the hottest weeb girl, the saddest game adaptation, the most hyped series since forever, and the biggest disappointment manga readers ever had. Truly a year of extremes. But seriously, this was undoubtedly an amazing anime year. It was hard to see complaints about the new shows other than about Chainsaw Man CG. Well, that and people on Twitter going crazy for the most absurd things like Anya blushing or Rebecca being a lolly. But that's besides the point. There was too much quality being thrown everywhere. The action shows, the comedies, the horny ones, there were even isekai bangers. And if you know me, you know I feel immense pain just verbalizing this. How to tell which of these was the best? And also, more importantly, does this mean we didn't have shitstorms like last year? Follow me. Last year we had a special case, X-Arm. This thing got the attention of the public eye, and thanks to that, we all knew the abomination we had as our base of trash anime. But that's all that was, a special case. Every year, there are numerous abominations that people just don't learn about, and I'm here to change that. I'm a man of science. I like learning useless information that serves zero purpose other than allowing me to say I know. So of course, I would once again go after which show this year deserved the title of X-Arm 2022. And also which deserved the actual title of Best Anime of the Year. But after a year where we had the cursed one as quality reference, it's hard to call something truly bad. Did we even get close to have something that atrocious? Spoilers, yes. To find our answer here, I used the same point system from last year's video, with some changes, and went back to that beautiful spreadsheet I made. Don't worry if you didn't watch that video, I will give a basic explanation again and also leave the detailed stuff in the description. We use 3 parameters to take points here: general score, drop rate, and popularity. Score is simple, I use the score the animes have on both MAL and Anilist, and take the mean value. This value defines the number of points the anime gets, between 10 and 9.5. Gets 5 points. And from there, any half value lower would get 1 less point. Yes, this means that below 7, the anime would get negative points. Drop rate is a bit more tricky. Again, using MAL and Anilist, I take the number of different entries the anime has, cut off the ones that don't apply, and calculate the percentage of the drops. If the drop rate is below 5, it gets a point. For every minus 5%, it's also 1 less point. Also, if the anime managed to have a drop rate below 1%, it would get 1 more point, because that's quite amazing, and last year we didn't have one like this. Finally, the popularity. Using Anime Corner and Anime Training's weekly rankings, I take the positions of the shows on their first and last weeks of the season and compare them. For every 5 positions they went up or down, they would win or lose a point. And for the stuff that managed to finish at the top, if it's top 10, they get a point, and 2 if it's top 5. Of course, some stuff never moves in those lists, so I also used the drop rate to take off points. -1 for 20% drop rate, and -2 for more than 30%. Lastly, we have stuff like Cyberpunk, which didn't air weekly, so instead their points for this section are the same as their drops, because those are binge animes. Dropping them is basically the same thing as losing popularity. Now just the last detail before I show you the results of this research. There were some animes that I didn't include here. Sequences, which is quite obvious why. I wanted to find the new bad and good stuff, and not the sequential ones. So I'm sorry, but Mob will not be the top anime of the year. Short anime, you know, those that only have 3 to 8 minutes, something like that. Why? Because most of those are rated like shit, and some don't even get into popularity pools. So if I was going to consider them, probably most of the worst would be just that. And lastly, those weird ones with a weird number of episodes and that air randomly. You know, OVAs basically. With that, I was left this year with 113 animes to account, which was surprisingly less than last year, even though I was considering more stuff this time. So Wiki, what are the final results? Well, let me start by telling you the good stuff. What was the best anime of the year? Maybe Akebi-chan, which I made a video just to praise the beautiful animation. Unfortunately, no. It only managed to rank 9th. Maybe Pairi Picome, one of the best comedies and with the best OSTs of the year. Nope, this masterpiece only ranked 6th, together with the best sports anime ever made, Blue Lock. Even some of the most acclaimed animes of their seasons, Yofukashi no Ta, Licorice, My Dress Up Darling, only managed to tie for 5th place. What could win the first place? I know what some of you might be thinking. There is only one option for the winner, the most hyped anime of the year, that every single breathing creature of this planet was talking about even before it aired. Of course, I'm talking about Chainsaw Man. Undoubtedly a great anime, not even the argument about the CG managed to stop the hype train from going. It was one of the 3 animes of this entire year to have a drop rate below 1%. That's an absurd number. To put it in perspective, All Summer Ranking, the top anime from last year's video, had a drop rate of almost 3. Under 1 means that basically everyone that watched the anime kept watching. An astonishing feat. But it seems all of that was just not enough. Chainsaw Man ranked 4th on this list. And the reason was, to my surprise, the popularity score, because it started at the top 5 of its season, but finished only at the top 10. Still high of course, but not enough to keep some points. So, 3 animes managed to outrun the big guy. Which ones did that? Actually, 4 did, because the 3rd place was a tie. One I'm sure all of you can imagine which is. The one that gave the most memes of the year. Responsible for making a relevant MILF character and a creature that motivates everyone to get a child and eat peanuts. Yes, Spy Family got 3rd place. To me this was a surprise. Not because I didn't like the anime, far from it. But because it had 2 seasons this year. And as so, I had to take a mean score for it. Last year this was the reason for Mushoku Tensei to lose 1st place. But here, both seasons had the same score. The second even was the 2nd anime with a drop rate below 1. And why do I think it got this high? Well, everyone loved it. Anya was a cultural sensation, and even though the level of love for Spy Family is on par with Chainsaw Man, there is a detail that Chainsaw might not be for everyone. There is some over-the-top stuff in there, which Spy Family just does not. It's a safe anime that anyone can watch, just good old fun for the whole Spy Family. But what tired with this titan? A mystery story, mixed with paranormal forces, time travel, and a lot of inspiration from the classics like Higurashi. Summertime Render. This hidden gem climbed its way from mid all the way to top 2 of its season, and secured its well-deserved place. We don't get many stories like this nowadays, and a good use of supernatural and mystery is always welcome in my book. But as much as a hidden gem it was, the real hidden gem of this year was the 2nd place. My personal favorite also. The proof that cute girls doing cute things will always surpass anything. Other than the 1st place, but whatever. Bocchi the Rock. Easily the best comedy of the year, with the most absurd animation scenes and some banger songs. With its stupidly hilarious reactions and hidden boobas for the degenerates, Hitori found a dusty dark place in the hearts of every weeb out there to secure its anime to be the highest ranked from this list on MAL. I could go for hours praising Bocchi's production team, animation, music, and comedy. I even planned on making a video about that. But many other AniTubers already did a good job at that. So I say we finally look at the real big shot here instead. It's not much of a surprise anymore, given that I mentioned every single other big anime of the year, which one is left to be here. I even mentioned a character from it at the beginning of the video. Yes, the top one was Cyberpunk Edge Runners, one of the few game-related animes to actually be good and that took the community like a storm. Especially on Twitter with every Rebecca's Not a Lolly discussion. It seems David Martinez did manage to leave his mark even in our world. Amazing visuals, characters, animation, maturity, a promotional material to make people play a nice game in contrast with Arcane. Story, well, for most it's good. I personally felt that the plot degraded after the time skip, and I still don't understand how people prefer Rebecca over Lucy. But that's a me problem. If there is a more objective observation I can make on the other hand, it's how binge animes such as this all had amazing drop rates. Cyberpunk was the last one with a drop below 1, and Romantic Killer and Kotaro wa Hitorigurashi were both Netflix originals like it and had drop rates below 2%, scoring the 7th positions of the ranking thanks to that. I guess their secret to make people finish an anime is really to let them watch the entire thing in one go. Well, yeah, hey, Cyberpunk won the best one, but now that we covered the best animes of the last year, it's time to cover the other end. Previously I said that there was no acclaimed bad anime this year like in the last, so this is a big interrogation mark. I was expecting it to be maybe Black Rock Shooter Dawnfall, the bastard child cursing the name of this franchise, which I made a pretty good video talking about if I do say so myself. But no, this atrocious anime was only at the 27th place out of 37 positions, tied with a bad stand-up comedy show and a random idol spin-off series. Then what could be the worst? There was only one other option that I could think of, Lucifer and the Biscuit Hammer. Even though I joked right at the start of the video about this anime, the backlash for this thing was quite serious. Hoshi no Samidare, a story about humans gaining psychic powers to fight alongside guardian animals against a wizard that wants to destroy the earth. It's one of those series manga readers never shut up about. so of course some expectations were made about the adaptation. But one of the most rushed series I ever seen in my life was probably not what people were expecting. Let me tell you, manga readers turn into savages when things don't go how they want. The drop rates were wild, and the popularity pool from anime trending had this thing go down 15 positions. No other anime fell so much like this one in this year. But as someone that never read the manga, I can say that even as an anime, this one was just a mess. You can tell that you were expected to feel attached to a lot of characters and care about many of the plot points, but there simply was no time to do any of that. The anime was made to run a marathon or something. It was too fast, and the animation is also just sad, especially for an action-based anime like this one. And even with all of the rush, all of the poor quality, all of the backlash from manga readers, this anime still only ranked at the 36th position, meaning it got the position of second worst anime of the year. Also tied with a male idol anime that no one seemed to care about, as it was not present in neither of the popularity pools, Rock, and a game adaptation from something no one played since they only launched in Taiwan, and that was poorly adapted on top of that, Gensou Sankokushi. And they were not even close to the worst one. What in the hell can be here? These three were worse than disgusting game adaptations like Legends of Mana and Girls Frontline. Worse than shit football animes like Futsal Boys and Shoot. Even worse somehow to the Shakespearean hermaphroditic cluster that was the wrecking of the Rose King. What is the worst of all? I am sure you never heard about it. Let me introduce you to Sabiro no Armor Reimei. This is a story about feudal Japanese warriors fighting using modern technologies to protect their small village against foreign invaders. Which is already a red flag, because Warring States animes are usually 50-50 on quality, and this one unfortunately lost the coin toss. The majority of the anime was made with the CG so terrible that it will make you think that X-Arms was decent. It really just looks like a PS1 game at the finest. It seems also that the worst animes of the year are required to mix CG with animation, but last time, at least X-Arm actually animated the drawings. Sabiro, on the other hand, only had them as PNGs standing there menacingly. On top of all of that, as it also seems to be a trend within bad animes, the story was like a F1 car speeding through the screen. In a single episode you can see 2 battles, a party, every character motivation and some background stories, and a scene where a dude keeps hitting a Gatling gun with a hammer saying he's fixing it. These ingredients were used to make the perfect worst anime. So congratulations, Sabiro no Armor. You are the polar opposite of Cyberpunk, the winner of the title of X-Arm 2022. Now, before we finish, for those that managed to get this far, I have some curiosities about 2022 animes to give after analyzing so much data from them. First, looking at the top 10 from both best and worst, we can tell that the fall season was the best of the year, having 6 animes at the top best and only 3 at the top worst. Parallel to it, the winter season was the worst, with 4 at the best and 6 at the worst. For genres, comedy was the most prominent genre of the year, also being the one that was most present at the top best. On the other side, the genre that appeared the least were shonen ai, shoujo ai, and mecha. Sasaki and Miyano was the only shonen ai, and the new Gundam the only mecha/shoujo ai. Interestingly, both also scored quite high, at 8th and 7th place respectively. And the last curiosity, in 2022, there were 12 new isekais. Out of 113 animes, I guess this is an okay amount. Maybe in 2023 you can have even less. Let me finish this by leaving the prints of the sheet so that you can see the final ranking of every anime of the year. Did your personal favorite get a high rank? Did it end where you expected to? Let me know in the comments. This video was also quite complex to make, as I imagine you can tell. So consider liking and subscribing if you enjoyed it. Also, I want to give a personal thanks to my editor for pulling out with my bullshit and making this video get into time. I'm sorry, Matsu, but thank you so much. And thank you everyone that came by. I'm Wiki, and I hope to see you guys next time. Bye bye. God, I'm so tired.